At this point, we have to change his name to Lost Again Knight. That's what LA stands for. I don't know what they're going to do, man. The back's against the wall here. The guy's 40 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's already been heavily invalidated. And he might turn into another case of somebody the WWE had a pot of gold right at their fingertips, and then they just spill it. And they're just like, oh, well, we didn't realize what happened, and then he gets future endeavored. Chest up, shoulders back. Welcome to Revival Wrestling, everybody, where I have better wrestling takes than you, and you know it. And I haven't made one of these in a while, guys. The road to WrestleMania we're getting there pretty quickly, but not a whole lot seems to be happening. The Sammy and KO reunion happened last night on SmackDown, from what I saw. Kind of predictable, but you gotta do what you gotta do, so that's good. So it looks like we're gonna get the entire bloodline perhaps crumbling down at WrestleMania. So we'll see how that all unfolds, but that's good. But today we're gonna talk about a guy whose career on the main roster hasn't been crumbling because it hasn't even really been built up at all, and that is LA Knight. Yeah, I don't need to say much about the guy, right? Anybody can watch him and immediately recognize his talent. I mean, he's good in the ring. He can talk up a storm. I said this in a previous video. He has more charisma and mic skill, truly, than 95% of the roster. I mean, he could go toe-to-toe on the mic with anybody. Everything on paper, this guy is just waiting to be pushed to the moon. The only downside is the fact that he's 40 years old. I saw this on Twitter, somebody mentioned he has not had a win, a televised win. I'm sure on house shows he's losing too. He hasn't had a win in 2 months almost. I think January 20th was the last win he had. He's lost to Kofi, then Kofi got hurt, he lost to Xavier Woods. Even at the pay-per-view at the Royal Rumble with Bray Wyatt, that garbage match. At this point, we have to change his name to Lost Again Knight. That's what LA stands for. And people say this a lot when it comes to guys who get called up to the roster and they lose. Now, mind you, I mean, I talk about Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano, they put him back in NXT for his feud with Grayson Waller or whatever. He has no chance on the main roster. It's very obvious to anybody who's being honest, who's not a total indie Mark fanboy type of dude. He's gotten wins over Finn Balor and Austin Theory on the main roster. His win over Theory was a clean win, not even interference related. So you take a guy like Johnny Gargano, who can't talk and can't act to save his life, can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. He's getting wins on the main roster clean. Then you have LA Knight, and this guy's just losing and losing and losing. So people are saying it's like, oh, well, that's what WWE does. They're going to have guys lose for a while to kind of build up their stripes or earn their stripes or something like that, and then they're going to get pushed. I don't know why you would have him lose like this. Even if he wins in like a heel way, he needs the wins. That's ultimately what builds credibility for a character. Even if they're cheap wins, right? People get mad because it's like this frickin' guy keeps winning even though he's cheating. I want to see somebody take him down. That's one of the cornerstones of establishing a heel character. They do bad things and they cheat and they lie and stuff, and then somebody has to come save the day from them. That's what it is, right? There's no legit plans for this guy at the moment, it seems like. He carried that entire Wyatt feud. He doesn't get enough credit for that, man, because Wyatt, you know, he cuts his promos and they're eerie, but they end up going nowhere. They make no real sense. Uncle Howdy shows up, all this garbage, right? LA Knight carried that feud, and he was technically the babyface in that feud because Bray interrupted him first. Bray struck him first. He headbutted him first before LA Knight ever touched him, and then Bray hit the cameraman too. Right, so Wyatt was the heel getting cheered as the face. LA Knight was technically the face and the heel in a pitch black match. You could barely see anything. It looked like a match the kids would design on a video game. I mean, that entire feud went absolutely nowhere. It did no favors for LA Knight except publicity, which was good because Bray Wyatt was the big returning name, and then the Undertaker segment on Raw 30, I think it was. So that's good for publicity, right? They're getting more people to see who this guy is. But again, when the rubber meets the road, he needs to win matches. I mean, it doesn't matter if people see him over and over. It's like, oh, there's that guy that talks a lot, but he always loses. Because as crazy as it sounds, we're at a point now where, I mean, he could be classified as a jobber. I mean, losing to Cody Rhodes, again, makes sense because they're giving him the publicity. And you're not going to beat the guy who's about to dethrone Roman. But all these other matches, right? I mean, just think about that for a second, too. It would make Cody look better if LA Knight was winning a lot on SmackDown, and then Cody's like, oh, I stopped this up-and-coming guy. I shut his mouth, right? So the whole thing is pretty ridiculous at this point. But let's assume that Mania happens. Who knows what they're going to do with him at Mania? Because he's been saying, like, you can't have an LA WrestleMania without LA Knight. And that sounds cool. But who's he going to face? I don't know. Maybe Randy Orton will come back or something. They probably would have Orton beat him, though, too, right? So I don't see a scenario. Maybe Lashley? But again, is he really going to beat Lashley? He does not need to be beating Lashley and these other upper mid-card or top-of-the-card guys at the moment. He doesn't need to be doing that. He needs to be getting wins over a bunch of guys in the mid-card, and they won't even give him that. But let's say, for the sake of argument, after WrestleMania, no matter what happens, which even then, if he takes another L, a clean L at WrestleMania, I mean, credibility-wise, his stock is at rock bottom. It's going to take a long time to come back from that. But let's assume he gets the push. People are saying he's going to win the Money in the Bank contract. This is another problem, though. We've seen this in the past, too, right? These guys will lose and lose and lose and lose, but then they win Money in the Bank, and now they're just supposed to be taken seriously as a World Heavyweight Championship threat. Baron Corbin, the same thing happened, because, right, he was winning a lot, then he started losing. I mean, now at this point, I don't know who Baron Corbin angered. That guy is buried beyond comprehension. Corbin had the briefcase, and he was still able to be taken seriously back then whenever he had the longer hair and stuff. And then he cashes in, and I think John Cena cost him the match, right? Just ruined it. I mean, his career has never recovered from that. And based on the looks of things, it never is going to recover. Because how could you? Right? I mean, you have that briefcase. More or less, what that means is you're going to be the next champion whenever they determine it. So you fail the cash in. That essentially is just the company saying they don't believe in you. That's fundamentally what it is. Unless you lose the briefcase and you get into a huge feud with the guy that cost you the briefcase or something, and then you go over that person, then you work your way back for a title match, that can make sense. But Theory was another great example. It's like this guy gets made fun of and is painted as a mockery. He's Mr. McMahon's incompetent understudy, but oh, he's got the briefcase now, he's scary. And now he has the United States Championship, which is good. But even so, right, he's just been invalidated for so long. Austin Theory was like the first LA Knight in this scenario, and I'm sure there's been guys before this, but I don't know, man. They just have such a ridiculous idea. You could even call it a theory that it's like, oh, we're just going to bury these guys and make them look stupid over and over and over and over and make them look weak. But then we're going to just hand them the title after we punish them for so long. It doesn't make any sense. You're not building credibility as they're reaching the higher statuses on the card. So once they get to the higher statuses on the card, you remember John Cena told Theory that's why they pipe in crowd noise for your matches? Yeah, maybe if you would have made him look valid this entire time, he's not losing to Jobby freaking Gargano and hiding in the Elimination Chamber and all this garbage. Was it him? Did he lose to Pat McAfee at WrestleMania? Was that Austin Theory? I think it was. I mean, bro, you're going to lose to an announcer, a commentator at WrestleMania, and then he's supposed to be taken seriously as, oh, man. I mean, just, it's infuriating to say out loud. It's unbelievable. It's like, how are you mismanaging your assets this badly? And I think the Triple H era has been better than it was when Vince was there, loosely speaking. They've done some good things, but they've really still done a lot of the same stuff Vince would do. A lot of just nonsensical booking, stuff doesn't make sense, matches nobody really cares about. So truly, assuming that he does get a push, I'm not sure who he's going to face. I'm not sure what he's going to do. I don't know who's going to have the U.S. Championship. I don't know if Cena's going to come back on a more regular basis. I highly doubt Gunther's going to lose the Intercontinental Championship. I don't think that would be a smart move at this point. So the mid-card titles, at least for now, seem kind of off the table. Assume Cena's gone. Maybe LA Knight could face Theory for the United States Championship. But if he gets that briefcase, man, I mean, let's assume Cody Rhodes wins the title. Or, again, they might split them. There's all this stuff. But if he gets the briefcase, I would rather him have an organic feud with Cody than to just cash in randomly one night. And honestly, too, right? I mean, Cody's going to be the guy, the big baby face. They have to establish him for a number of months at the bare minimum. If they cash in the briefcase, if LA Knight, for example, cashes in the briefcase on Cody, he's going to lose. They're not going to let Cody drop the title like that. So I don't see a tangible way out of this at this point. I really hope I'm proven wrong because LA Knight is a heck of a talent, but I don't know what they're going to do, man. The back's against the wall here. The guy's 40 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's already been heavily invalidated. And he might turn into another case of somebody the WWE had a pot of gold right at their fingertips, and then they just spill it. And they're just like, oh, well, we didn't realize what happened. And then he gets future endeavored. It will be a shame because he came onto the main roster as Max Dupree with that male models garbage. And they finally saw the light from that. But then, I mean, at this point, would the difference even be that significant? If he was Max Dupree or LA Knight, either way, nothing's happening. So as I said, I hope I'm proven wrong, but I think this is going to be an uphill battle, to say the least, for this guy. And it's a shame. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about this and what you would do with him, because I don't have many ideas. and I'll catch you guys next time.